Welcome, everybody. I am joined here by Betty Hunlock. My name is Robin Modafair, and we'd like to welcome you to the Keys classes. This particular discussion and conversation is going to be on channeling today, and Betty and I are pretty excited. We've been working through a lot of technical difficulties and timing difficulties and lots of earth plane difficulties in order to bring this class to you. So it's our greatest joy, and I would like to introduce my partner, Betty Hunlock, at this time.
Hello, Robin. I'm so glad to be here with you, and this is such an exciting topic that's going to really, I think, it really made a difference as we've been working through it for me, and I'm looking forward to continuing understanding and experiencing of the channeling topic. So thank you.
Thank you so much, honey, for always being there and in great support and having my back on all of these things. As all of you know who have tried or attempted to do these technological functions while you're trying to bring things forth, it's always quite a challenge. So today we're going to talk about channeling, and this is right up my alley. As you all know, this is pretty much a lot of what my work has been most of my life is channeling and mediumship, and as well as other things. But this is a very, very big and passionate focus for me. So I'm super happy to be able to help bring some of these insights to all of you, and hope very much that they will be of benefit and help to help you open some of your gifts and some of the innate abilities that you each carry. Channeling is made up of concepts or words or visions that come from the subconscious instead of the conscious mind. They originate there and stream forth to our awareness and our world. We each are vessels and delivery systems like conduits of food and water. We are the vehicle. Channeled information is transmitted from the subconscious mind or through it to the conscious mind from a source that may be an impersonal or non-personal entity, or even a collective of sorts. Although this might sound a bit strange to the layperson, it might also be an aspect of our collective self. So in this discussion, I think it'll be helpful to address ways in which we can ensure the level or degree of what I call integrity or clarity of the information that's being brought through to us as channels or conduits. First of all, much of this can be secured in the preparation of our bodies and our minds and our spirits. Another way of saying that is that we are wholly responsible for what we take into our bodies, being mental, spiritual, emotional, or physical. And by paying due diligence to these things, it sets a tone, a vibration, if you will, that enables us to connect up with a pipeline that has a corresponding vibration or intent with ours. A beautiful channel, Carla Ruckert, who wrote a channel handbook and the Law of One, said that we all channel all of our lives every moment, thought by thought, experience by experience, and relationship by relationship. Being that most of us are not or seldom under conscious control, we are almost always channeling unconscious thoughts all the time. It takes focus and desire to attain the skills of consciously engaging this at will, even more focus to work with a singular or particular being or entity. In this discussion that Betty and I are having on channeling, we hope to outline some of the procedures that we've come across and those that are our own experiences to help you have a better feel for this intuitive, natural, and wondrous phenomenon. So, first of all, there are far too many kinds of channeling models for us to cover in this one conversation, but we're going to do our best to give you the fullest measure of this subject. For example, seances, communicating with ghosts, disembodied relatives, Native American guides, spirits, healers, inner plane masters, and so on, are just some of the examples of popular categories one might find themselves working with when opening to channel. Next, although there may be many Christians today who will argue the point, or who are completely unaware of this fact, there are many examples of channeling found in religions throughout the world. In fact, religious or traditional types of channeling are grand subjects in our studies in religion, in and of themselves. Some saints and prophets in the Christian church were channels. The Old Testament is filled with the beauty of the prophet's words. Isaiah and his prophetic words about the incarnation of Jesus Christ, the channels of that day, holy men and women saw visions and heard voices. Moses, who talked with God and was directed most of his adult life by God, a voice or miraculous experience might be said to have been channeling. I think that there can oftentimes be a misinterpretation or some kind of distortion around that particular word. And so people can become off-put or offended by it. So let's just talk about some of the ways in which we do receive from the other side, or are participating in what we call channeling, even though it may not be consciously. One of those ways is called automatic writing. One of the ways that you can experience the presence of a spirit guide is through writing. You can call on your spirit guides through meditation, and following your meditation, you can free write. I know that sounds like a strange phrase, but it's sort of like an open forum. You just kind of put your hand to paper and allow whatever comes into your mind to come into your mind and be written down on paper. And allow the voice of your guides to work through you. Connecting to your spirit guides is about learning to rely on the voice of love. It's so important not to ever lose sight that the reason these guides are here to bridge and help you is to bridge your thoughts from fear back to faith, forgiveness, love, and light. They present you with creative solutions and beautiful opportunities all the time. So meditation would be another way of you practicing how to be a channel, and it's another way of receiving it. You can go into meditation and sit there very still and very quiet and be able to perceive words and phrases and ideas and visions. The third one would be bringing in the light. An example of this might be, dear guides of the highest truth and compassion, I welcome you to write through me now. And this is something that you might say in invoking them to dare to participate with you in this beautiful experiment that we call channeling. You may want to use a beautiful process of connecting to the heart of the earth and step by step inviting a gold white light to begin to enter your body. And if you want to, I'm just going to walk you very quickly through this, but you might envision a beautiful gold white light beginning to enter your body starting at the feet. They come up from the heart of the Earth Mother. You see this beautiful gold white light. Picture it moving upwards through you, through your ankles, through your lower legs, into your knees. This is where we carry so much locked emotion. Remember to keep breathing as you envision this beautiful, beautiful gold white light now coming up through your pelvic area and into all of the reproductive organs in your body. Into your spine now, and your stomach, your heart. Take a deep breath. And see this gold white light come now up into your chest, your shoulders, your arms, your forearms, your wrists, hands, fingers, neck, thymus. And now it moves up through your neck to your face, your mouth, your nose, into your eyes, your tongue, your teeth, your lips. And as this beautiful light is moving up and in and through you, it is relaxing you. It is transforming and transmuting all things that no longer serve you. All negative energies that abide within your field, within your body, within your mind. We now see the gold white light come into your third eye. That's right between the brows above your eyes, in the center of your head. Good. This beautiful white light now comes into the occipital, the cranium, your pineal gland, your pituitary gland, the forehead, the crown chakra. And now, like a beautiful, beautiful fountain of light, it pours out your crown and over your body, encompassing it in this beautiful gold white light. A perpetual fountain of gold white healing, transformative and protective white light. This is a way that you may envision and prepare yourself, your body, mind, and spirit prior to connecting to doing channeling. Number 4 would be connection to the high self or your source. Get into the habit of asking to connect with it. Invite it in to talk and to be with you. When we forget that we can all call on Spirit for help, we start to rely on our own strength. That's when fear sets in. Often, we forget that we have guidance within us and around us all the time. In the busyness of the day-to-day life, it's really easy to forget this connection. Therefore, the first step is to get into the habit of asking your spirit guides for help. Number 5 is to ground and center to the heart of the earth, very much like we did with the meditation that we just took you through in bringing in the light. You may just picture yourself deeply corded, connected in some way, anchored to the heart of the earth. And that gives you that grounded and that connection and that center. Number 6, practicing bringing light into your chakras and balancing them. There's an actual vast degree of information out there online for any of you who may want to go search. There are videos on YouTube. There's probably no limit or end to the material that you can find on how to work with your chakras. And I do recommend that you kind of peruse through them and see what resonates with you best. But this is a very, very, I can't stress this enough, it is a profound way for you to raise your vibration and your frequency very quickly. Number 7 is cleaning and or clearing your chakras. So some of these videos and how-to prompts will help you walk through exactly how to clean or clear. And some of them have what we call tones or sound type technologies that help you to do so. But the important thing is that you clear them out, you spin them out, you bring in the light into these chakras and create a balance for them. The reason for this are many, for there are always far more beings and entities out there that would love to speak through you, as there are those who are interested in becoming a channel for them. For every person who desires to learn to channel, there are multitudes more on the other side wanting to talk with you. That means that there are negative and positive polarity beings desiring to do so all the time. So it is up to us to take whatever measures we must to assure that our messages and our communications are as high as they can be, that they are not manipulated, twisted, hacked, or even faked. For example, I've personally had experiences in the almost 40 years that I've been involved in this work where well-meaning individuals became too comfortable in their abilities and ended up engaged for many years in communicating manipulated and misinformation from less than desirable energies to their eventual detriment. And this isn't, I'm not saying this to scare any of you out there, but just so that you are aware of how very, very important it is that we be mindful at all times of the integrity and of the responsibility that comes with bringing things over from the other side, and especially if any of you are intending to work with people in order to help them or to bring through information that might be of benefit to them in healing. The only reason that this happens normally is that they become very lax in their foundational practices and they stop doing them. So that opens them up to a wide array of different kinds of experiences.
Well, Robin, I know that this information that you have just shared of the 7 different techniques and processes is very, very beneficial to get started, but I know that there's deeper foundational practices that we can be aware of to eliminate that possibility of those beings that we don't want to have the misinformation.
Yeah,
so would you elaborate on that?
Oh, I'd be happy to. This is a very, very deep subject. So, and in order for many of those that might be coming to this for the first time, we'll try and keep it as close to the vest as we can and not go too crazy off there. But one of the ways is to design a format or procedure. So in other words, and again, this may sound kind of odd or different to those of you hearing this for the first time, but when we are intending to communicate with energies of any kind, after preparing our own self by what I call kind of a ritual practice, a daily foundational sort of practice that is good for really preparing you for any kind of your different clairvoyant or clairaudient or clairsentient gifts, your psychic abilities, and so on and so forth. I threw that in just for Betty because we were having a conversation earlier about that. It's important to figure out how you are going to be in relationship with these beings and what kind of format you will agree to working with them in. So it's super helpful to design a format or a procedure to go forth so that you can actually get to know them better, have a clear understanding about how you're going to communicate, what the rules are and what they're not. And I know that sounds funny, but it's kind of like trying to have a meeting or an agreement, a compromise with anyone in this world. You would do the same thing. You want kind of the thing in writing, and when you come to meet with them, you work with them in the same way all the time, or nothing ever gets done, right? And you also have a clear way of understanding when somebody has gone off, target or off topic, for example. So here's what I recommend. These are some of the things that I've used in my practices, and I'm sure that other mediums and channels out there have other things as well. But one way to design is to design and format a procedure that's agreed upon mutually by you and the energies on the other side. And then you hone this cooperation or this communication as best you can, and you stick to it all the time. You come in a certain way, you open in a certain way, you dialogue in a certain way, you have certain parameters that you both agree on, and you stay within that outline. And then at the end, of course, you close in a certain way as well, honoring or, verifying information that you've got at the end of it, and making sure that everything was received in the highest and the best for everyone concerned. And then you ask if the communication is complete. So I can go into this in much greater detail, and I hope to, as we continue to do more and more classes, we can delve into this a little bit more. And always, I just want to throw this in here now, that if any of you hearing this ever have any questions that you would like to have addressed in and through any of these classes, or you have suggestions about classes, please don't hesitate to go to www.embracingsource.com. That's embracingsource.com. Go to the contacts page, and you can message in to me directly, and Betty and I will go over all of your questions together or your suggestions, and we can go ahead and address them. So when we approach any of these agreed upon formats or procedures with honor and respect, this is always a good thing, and it's highly recommended. So seek their cooperation. In your quiet meditations, you may even want to pick one trusted guide or entity that you feel a particular affinity with, and work on receiving what we call a body signal from them. Now, this body signal will be a signal that you will feel in your body that only you and the entity will know. Try to resist speaking it out loud. Now, it may require a great deal of patience, or sometimes you may have to wait for days or weeks before you receive it. Then again, you may receive it right away, or you may already have been receiving it for a very long time, but not aware of it at all. For example, I knew a woman who was having like a prickling feeling that would come onto her shoulder for probably many months before we actually got together and we started to communicate with her higher self and other energies, and she was interested in learning how to receive information for herself. And when we went to go get the body signals, what they asked of her is to think back into the last several weeks, and maybe even months, if she noticed or remembered anything out of the ordinary that she'd been experiencing in her body for a very, very long time. And it took some time for her to come to the answer. They didn't give it to her, but when she said it, when she realized what it was, immediately they confirmed it to her by sending her that body signal over and over and over for just a few moments. And when that was solidified between the two of them, and they had a good understanding that this entity, when it would come to her to deliver information, to bring messages, to work with her, it would bring her this particular feeling in her body. Now, it can be a lot of things. It can be the fluttering of your eyelids. It can be high-pitched sounds in your ears, low-pitched sounds. It can be tingling on your head. It can be a shudder through your body. It can be pains or twinges or tickles on your toes. But you and the energy will be the only ones who know this. I have one particular entity I work with who's a pain in my side, and it's very apropos. So when their high self comes to me, that is the experience that I have with this particular entity. So these are just a few of the suggested ways that you might receive body signals. once you have it and the two of you are clear, it doesn't take any time at all for you to start to develop a very, very close relationship with the energy that you're working with. And you get to know them quite well. So, again, try to resist as much as you can speaking that body signal out loud, because there are always energies around listening and they can kind of try to fake it with you. So I would suggest, just if you receive it in your mind, then ask for it to send you the body signal one time or two times or three times again. And that way you'll know that you're speaking to the entity and not to something else.
So Robin,
yeah.
In regards to that, I hadn't thought about this, and I don't know that it came up in our discussions, but there's a possibility then that it would be a specific signal for a specific entity, as opposed to the same body signal for anyone that you connect with.
Yes, different for each. Yes, different for each one. Now, in a moment, you've jumped a little bit ahead of me, but in a moment, I'm going to address that, because there's a time when you start communicating to so many that you receive. So anyway, we'll talk about that in just a second. Okay. Thank you, though. Thank you for bringing that up. No, that's fine. That's perfect. So yes, just be aware that you might have already been receiving it for quite a long time. And this happens very, 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 very often, because your higher self, or the energies that know that the setup or the blueprint or the contract that you have with them and you wrote long before this lifetime, they already know that they're coming to this moment with you. They know that we're kind of on predestination time, where they're too excited to really kind of control themselves, like somebody calling you before their appointed time because they just can't wait to talk to you. I do that all the time. And so they'll start doing that too, just to kind of sort of hone the connection, the vibration, make sure that they're getting it to you. And they'll know it before you know it, because you just haven't thought about it in that way. You may be having an itch or, a pain or a twinge of something constantly, and it's just a nuisance to you, but that confirms to them that they are getting through to you. And that when you come to the point where you're beginning to, or ready to open that communication field between the two of you, they already have it established, and they feel really good about that. Yeah, they're always ahead of us. What can I say? So when confirmation, so the importance of this, you might wonder why it may be of greatest benefit for us to establish body signals. Well, we do this in lieu of using or needing to use other tools such as pendulum, tarot, table tipping, or other forms of kinesiology to form our communication. So us become the tool. When confirmation is coming through you, that is the most clear and accurate connection you could possibly have. And that is also a way that you can have the deepest trust and knowing that what you're speaking to is something that you can feel safe with at the time, because you've established this relationship. When you have or receive your body signal, you are a pure vessel. You don't need anything or anyone outside you to help you to receive this information. Once you've honed your body signals from 1, 2, or 3 sources of communication, you're well on your way to creating a clear, high, and dependable form of communication. And this is vital to becoming a good, high, clear medium or channel. Okay, so now I'm going to open to your question, Betty.
Thank you.
Now we can do that. So did you want to rephrase it for me?
Well, what happens when you have established many body signals? And can this be overwhelming for your reception and for the channel?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And it is a really great question because it does happen. It happens all the time. It gets to the point where we almost look like we've got a very, very serious problem because we're constantly itching, scratching, fluttering eyes, our noses are twitching or whatever. So it can really be uncomfortable and not very practical. Once you have developed your skills at receiving these things and confirming the energies that you're speaking to, once you've established a good rapport, relationship, a trust in this communication back and forth, you will, at the very subtle levels of your life, become very adept at energies, at being able to decipher, to discern them, to sense and feel them. I know those are all kind of the same words, but you'll be surprised because there's so many nuances to the ways in which we begin to feel and sense the connection to those that we are here to work with and to receive information from. And once you've done that, once that is a very solid communication and connection, then you can ask to receive or to create what we call a universal body signal. Now, this universal body signal will serve for all of the major players, I think I'd like to say. So that would cover like your inner core or your inner council of messengers, guides, beings that you work with. Normally, those are kept, I would say, under like 5 or 6. And even 5 or 6 body signals coming to you all the time on top of others that might want to get your attention, or maybe new ones coming to you in the future. That can be a lot of stuff going on with you and quite annoying. So the universal signal will kind of save you from that. I'm not going to speak what mine is out loud on this call, but it can be all kinds of things. It can be crawly feelings on the top of your head. It can be like a warm flush through your whole body. It could be shudders, like you do sometimes when you feel truth, or you hear something, that kind of disturbs you. But whatever it is, it will start to be, all you have to do is ask if this is the body signal that you're going to use as your universal signal for all of those master guides or teachers or your higher self, source, soul, that come to speak to you. And that should be sufficient. You won't need any more than that because you'll know the feeling of your overlight, of your oversoul as it comes to you. And you'll be very familiar with this, what I now call a council of beings that are working with you most of the time. Does that sort of help or answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
Sure, you're welcome. It can be, all of this just starts to grow and grow and expand, and you become more and more and more adept at being what I call a master of discerning energies. You'll feel every nuance of them, sense it. You just start having a knowing of what their cadence of speech is, how they talk to you, the phraseologies that you either really hear or you just hear or see. You just will know. You'll just know. And if you are someone who's called to this work, it doesn't really have to take a very long time for these things to start to come upon you, or I shouldn't even say come upon you, come from you, spring forth from you, because we all carry the ability to do that. One of the things I would like to reiterate here is very important. Please, please, please don't ever underestimate the creativity of lesser light beings to pretend to be beings of light. They are very adept and practiced at this. They've been doing this for a very, very, very long time. And they're, so how do we check that? How do we make sure that the information that we're getting or the beings that we're talking with are really coming to us from the place that we said? Well, some of the things are the things that we've talked about already with the body signals. That's what I call like one line of defense or one firewall. Okay, we'll use that expression. That's just like one of the powerful firewalls that you have. And this is another one that we'll address here. When you've become practiced at receiving, you'll simultaneously be developing an inner sense of energies like we were talking about in general. So you'll become very, very discerning of these. You will most often sense that the information starts to sound a little weird. If you're having a communication with them and something feels off or just doesn't seem quite right, then your spidey senses are going up and you're checking into that now knowing and clarity and masterhood that you're developing around being able to categorize and discern energies of all kinds. If something feels funny or the messages coming through just don't sound like the entity you know well, you may want to stop receiving, just stop whatever it is you're doing, and ask for your guide's body signal again. You wait to feel it, and sometimes this can be frustrating because it may take a little bit before it actually comes through, but you wait to feel it. This is your second line of defense, your second firewall. So again, we are asking for the body signals, but in a different circumstance, a circumstance where we may be being interfered with from an energy or some kind of entity that is not necessarily there to be helpful, but to be distracting, right? To kind of block what's going on at the moment. So wait to feel it, then confirm it. If you're using a pendulum or table tipping or other, you should know that entities that are negatively polarized can answer yes when you ask if they are of the light. And I know this is a little unnerving, but it is true. So if you ask them once, they can answer yes. They can answer yes 2 times. You must ask them 3 times. Even if they're saying yes, yes, and you feel pretty good about it, you must ask them 3 times because they cannot, for some reason, if you're uncertain of them or find yourself sensing something isn't right, then ask them that 3rd time. They must answer truthfully on the 3rd ask. I don't know why that's true. There are many thoughts on the subject, and I'm not really sure why that is the way that it works, but that's one of those things that is sort of programmed in the way that light and shadow work together, communicate. Those are some of the rules. I know because I've tested this for 40 years that this is true, and I still don't know exactly why, but it's true. It's almost like, oh, okay, well, you broke me down. I can't lie to you the 3rd time. I don't know. So if you get a body signal that you know and trust at the 3rd time, and then you can continue to move forward. If you get a yes answer on the 3rd query, you can move forward. If you get a no, then you have a few options. Okay. If it tells you no on the 3rd time, it's time to take a breath, step back, and think about this for a second. So you have a few options. First, it's a good idea to ask if it's here to be healed. Always, always, always go to healing first. When in doubt, heal. And you ask if that's what they're there for, if they're drawn to you for that, because they'll come in and kind of try to, I guess, get your attention, interfere with the flow of information that's going on with you and your entity, because it's an opportunity for them. So if they're there for healing, they'll come in and try to distract or disturb so they can get your attention, just like a kid looking for attention at the moment. And so you ask if it's here to be healed. If you get a yes answer, well, one of the things, I'm backing up a little bit because I wanted to mention that one of the reasons that they're drawn to you, so that people don't kind of get what I want to put here, put back or put off by what we're talking about right now, or scared or anything like that, is that when we become mediums or channels of light, when you have established all of this peace, centeredness, clarity, of clearing chakras, of balancing your fields, of bringing light into your body, of aligning yourself with the source, gaining a strong, strong, strong connection to that other side and to your higher self and other light beings, there begins to emit from you a tremendous light, a light that comes from within you. It does get established within your outer field, but it's coming from within now. And as that light comes from within you and you start to glow and to shine energetically on the other side and through the veils into the other levels of and dimensions of time, space, beings will begin to be drawn to your light. They're not coming with any malicious intention. They have no other agendas except that whatever is innate within them, because they're wandering spirits or they're less than settled or they're, disincarnate spirits just wandering around. When they see that light, it's a natural thing, and they tend to move towards you. They gravitate to you. When they see you doing something like mediumship or channeling, and that's why we always suggest that you do your centering and grounding and protection and all of that balancing before you begin this practice, is to kind of eliminate the riffraff, right? Those that are not persistent, those that are not, seriously looking for help, or and that does seem to, kind of weed out some of the problems. But if you come across one that is there for healing, that's usually why. Now, if you ask them if they're there for healing, and it says yes, then it's time for you to call on help from the highest and trusted beings that you know. You have those that you have the best relationship with. I've listed some of them here. We've got Buddha, Archangel Michael, of course, Christ, Jesus, Metatron, Mother Mary, God. Whatever your deepest or most trusting connection is, whoever you feel the most confidence in or safest with, call on them to come in and to help assist you. And usually there's a little thing, a little titty that we do, and that's asking them if they're there to be healed and welcoming them in love and light, and saying you are here to be healed. And then I just envision usually announcing to them who is here with them and with myself, and take our hands and let us lead you to the light. And we walk them across. You walk them into the light. And if you don't feel comfortable doing it, then let the one that you've called on do it. And they'll be happy to do that. They're always, always omnipresent and always available to be of that kind of help to you. In fact, the more that you begin to channel and medium, you may find that a great majority of the sessions that you do are dedicated to healing beings on the other side. Sometimes you'll have nothing but sit down and have constant entire meditations or channeling sessions or whatever that are totally devoted to doing nothing but healing. So that's another thing that goes on. It may take a little bit, but once that's complete, once you've we've walked the being across into the light, you'll start to see, if you're using a pendulum, the pendulum will move 3 times in a yes motion. The table will tip 3 times, or you'll get your body signal. And usually they'll try and send it to you 3 times because that's just kind of the spiritual, heavenly, agreed upon number. It's a magical number. So that's why probably the other side can't say yes the 3rd time. I don't know. I get real hung up on that because it's like one of my eternal questions. I just need to know. And I still don't. So then you can continue. If the interference happens again, and that's a good sign usually for you to just discontinue immediately or try again later. If you constantly come upon resistance to what you're trying to receive, like your pendulum's going all crazy, or you just can't get the same answer twice when you're doing kinesiology or whatever else you're doing, or your messages start to get scrambled and it just takes off on a weird, sort of crazy rogue sort of conversation, then it's just time for you to stop. Always best to do that. So there are times that because many of us may be going through a lot, we're confused or stressed or unclear about things, that it's just a really challenging time for us to get clear information at that time. So best to wait until you are clear and peaceful and centered, and then go at your conversation again. This is the reason that it's always recommended to meditate or do yoga or clear your chakras or do toning before we enter into receiving messages from our guides or anything else that's out there. Don't want to do that necessarily. Channeling provides for us a way to connect to the unseen as well as the innermost places of our soul. It can be a great tool in your spiritual practice, and it can help you to build trust in the unseen over time. Channeling provides us with a bridge between worlds, between the seen and the unseen. You might hear people referring to it using different names such as receiving guidance, mediumship, connecting to spirit, guides, ancestors, angels, spirit team, higher self, aliens, etc. Spirit guides may be far too woo-woo or out there for some, and that's fine. You can use these practices to connect to your intuition or your inner guidance, some of those psychic abilities that we were talking about. Ultimately, nobody knows who or what we're connecting to. So try to trust in what you know and what does or doesn't resonate for you. The thought of channeling guidance from the unseen might be scary at first or feel uncomfortable or unsafe, but it doesn't need to be. I believe that anyone can access channel guidance and that it's here to support our lives. Just like any skill, though, it takes practice, patience, and trust to develop it. So, our channel is a bit like a radio. It's just like a radio in the sense that a radio picks up stations, signals, or frequencies through tuning in, and you too can tune in to access the unseen world through your channel or your frequency. Through channeling, you can access messages from angels, connect to source, or learn what wounds need healing from ancestors. There is actually no limit to the things that it can be used for. You will even learn how to create and manifest or travel through lives, dimensions, and other universes. There's always room for us to delve a little bit deeper and learn how to use this in more creative ways. The more you work with it, the stronger you'll become. And it's like learning to exercise a muscle that you haven't used in a long, long time. So once you begin inviting your spirit guides in, there are different ways that you might experience their presence. We haven't talked about this yet. I want to stop here because I want to ask Betty. I've never asked her this question, but how do you experience spirit or energies or entities? Do you ever get, how is it that you tune into them or you decipher that you're picking up on a presence or anything like that?
Sometimes I'll get, like you mentioned earlier, a tingling as a body response of knowing something that seems true, and it may be something that somebody else says, or it may be something that comes to my mind. And I know something that at the beginning when you were talking about everything that we think and say and do is channeling, it's like, oh my goodness. And that makes sense to me because when I think of channeling, I think of the things that are in the Bible, and it's like that's a different place, that's a different octave, and that's not real life. But in my case, I think that it's more that thoughts just come to me and words coming out of my mouth, and it's like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
And so,
yeah.
but because it's me and it seems so natural, it's like it's not the where I always looked before it. Oh, you know, you go to a psychic fair and there's people who channel. They have a certain way that they present themselves. And what I've always liked about our interactions is you make everything seem so real. It's like it's not magic. It's not a mystery. It's like this is what it is, and it's something that is natural for all of us all the time. And I admire the channeling of people who are musicians or artists, and I recognize that comes through from a different source, and they're expressing themselves. But just as we go about our day-to-day lives, it seems like that's where I am. And this part that we're talking about is how to turn the channel to get to a certain place, to get information. Yeah. And that's where I am. It's like, oh, I want to learn how to do that.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. That's pretty awesome. I love the way that you perceive those things. You have such a different way of looking at them and how it talks to you, you know, in your world. And I thank you for that because, yeah, it really is when you, for me, all of this stuff is natural. It's like we can talk about the supernatural and all of that, but really anything that is natural. It can feel magical. We can experience it as being, and I know what you're saying about, you know, some of the ways that people appear, they mysterious, you know, or unique or different or anything like that. But I think that the time has come for us to sort of, like you were saying, turn the page on that and understand that, no, this isn't just for a few. This is definitely an occurrence that happens all the time, and I love that you brought up art and music and all of that because that is absolutely, definitely all of the ways that we're inspired with our creativity to bring forth all of the beautiful works that people do. So thank you for that. I was just super curious because I don't think I'd ever talked to you about that before. We do need to focus on all this stuff, but we don't really, yeah.
Well, another thing is that we get messages by the world around us. Like if I look out the window and see a cardinal, that cardinal may have a message for me because of what is showing up. And as I experience life, and you know, you see the certain numbers all the time, like 444. It's like you see a license plate with 444. You see the time, it's 444. It's like, oh, that's a message, and let me sort it out and make meaning of it. And so it's like, you know, the world, what I call the unseen world, is always trying to give us messages and get our attention. And it's just slowing down and noticing and paying attention to how that relates to me and what the message might be.
Yes,
So it's,
yes, absolutely.
So that's kind of a fun thing, is that being Sherlock Holmes and trying to figure out the world around us and how it's supporting us in such very subtle ways.
Yeah, yeah. And channeling is one of the ways that you can bring through the explanation of that. Like if there is a message or a symbol, it's not that you don't know it, you know, that you're not intuiting it at some level, that it's not sort of seeding itself in the what we would call telepathic communication, but you can actually bring it down into, you know, a written or a communicative form if you go into and focus with a conversation or a discussion, because they're sort of like body signals. I mean, if you're paying attention to the world around you, it's always speaking to you, but some don't look there, you know, so there's so many different ways of communication and no limit on it, absolutely. So thank you so much, Betty, for that. You're so good. So one of the ways that we might invite and feel the presence of our spirit guides, aside from the many beautiful ones that Betty has brought to our attention, is inner knowing. Again, using that inner sense to identify or to discern what's going on. You can experience a spirit guide as an inner knowing. You may feel a sense or a guide about your guide's presence, or hear a voice within. Now, some people actually literally hear a voice. I do not. I know hear and know see. So no matter how you're getting your intuitions or your experiences, they are unique to you. They are designed for you. It's the way that you're made up and the way that you're put together. So you may experience it very differently. Do not ever compare yourself, please, to someone else or how someone else gets something or sees something or even interprets something, because every one of you is going to do it in your own way. And that's the beauty of being alive. So like a strong intuition or realization, you might feel or hear their presence. Some people audibly hear, like we were talking about, and see their guides. Oh, that would be so nice. Sparks of light. Sometimes they can be experienced as sparks of light. You'll see little flashes or flutters of light. Are another indicator of spirit guides' presence. Some people talk about seeing little sparks of light. Another one is something that I threw in because this is one way that I communicate with mine, and it's higher low tones or frequency sounds. These, I'll be talking with somebody when I'm working or receiving information. The way that I can tell what's around me or what's coming in is something will come into my field, and immediately I will begin to hear the pitch and the vibration with it. These are the way that I receive and know or can determine what kind of entity has just entered my field and from what vibration or dimension it may hail from. As you work with your channel and connect regularly, experiences, intuition, and connections may strengthen. Connecting may become an easier, or the guidance received may become more profound. The more you practice with this, you will also gain trust and confidence in the work that you're doing now, and that it's real. Humans, much of the time, have a tendency to think that they are just making it up. It's okay that you do think that. It's totally normal to fall in and out of trust and doubt. This has been a big part of my journey and has worked out to ultimately strengthen my connection to and trust in spirit over time.
So, Robin, there's different language, and I'm curious about what the difference is between a channel and a medium?
Okay, that's a really good question. There's a lot of different thoughts on this too. I have spoken, I've known a lot of channels and mediums. I've known a lot of people in this field for so many years. And I know what my truth and my experiences with all of this are, and that's really the only way that I can go about and speak to this. But having said that, I would encourage, again, everyone who may come upon this or really truly has a passion about learning this, to read, to study, to peruse all kinds of different sources and resources, and for different ways that they might express. But here's one way for that I would like to bring this forth, is that I believe that we all have a channel. Our soul true self is our channel. It is the unique tone and frequency that is our essence, and that receiving or tapping into messages or guidance from the unseen, whether that be angels, ancestors, or your higher self, is a psychic skill that can be developed. Mediums also deal with receiving messages and or guidance from the unseen. And of course, mediums have a channel. Now, there are some people who believe that mediums are solely, strictly, those that work with the astral plane, or those that are disincarnate, just dead, basically, those who are no longer with us here. I have a little different, maybe a real different take on that. So I'm not saying that that's not accurate for them or their experience, but mine is a little different, because I do consider myself a medium, but I am a conscious medium. I give over to semi-trance sometimes, but only after like 35 years of doing this. The difference between, as I see it, channeling and mediumship in my own experience is that while channels may receive guidance from the unseen in the form of angels, ancestors, higher self, etc., they do not move aside for the entity or energies to take them over or to come into them, okay? So channeling is kind of like the flow. It's when the flow is going, and when you are, you can direct it. You can direct it to tap in to certain beings or call upon certain energies, but it's kind of like you're conscious, right? You're awake, you're watching it, you're participating in it. Now, mediumship, and I may have a different understanding or a different interpretation, definition of mediumship. A medium may bring through just the same as a channel does. Okay, they can work in that way too. They just have like an added, additional ability aside from channeling, because they can also choose, either from free will or from prior life arrangement, to move aside in order to receive the fullness of an entity or a master or being or so on. Their higher self, their soul, anything really. There are endless ways in which to receive channeled messages. You may decide that you're interested in developing this intuitive skill, not really realizing that it's always been an integral part of your natural manifestation. This may require some time, reading, practice, meditation, chakra balancing, and clearing, and many other ways of raising one's vibration, etc. Now, I don't know if I answered your question well to the difference in channeling and mediumship, because I think it's like a slippery slope. But there are things that are considered, such as contractual mediumship. Now, a contractual mediumship could include trance mediumship, and oftentimes does. This is an experience that comes upon one, usually at an age where one is agreed in one's life to have this experience. This contract that has been written in spirit is almost always written into the life blueprint of an individual or group before the individual comes into human form, or any form. Guess it doesn't have to be human. I know that sounds weird, but it's true. The connection can be established in many ways. Each is quite unique, and although it is a mutually agreed arrangement, the vessel or the host, the channel, may or may not be quite ready to receive or be receptive to the experience. Either way, when it does happen to them, there will most always be a time period needed for getting to know one another again. So, it's remembering is vital in order that the trust be engaged to allow the fullness of the energies to flow between them. So this contractual mediumship, in other words, I'll give you an example. That could be like you have lived your entire human life and you attend a seminar. I'm going to give you a very bizarre one, but it happens to be true. I know someone this happened to. And they became a profound trance medium, where they attended this group and they were listening to the speaker, and they didn't really want to be there. They'd attended with their wife, and he fell asleep during the meeting. And when he awoke, everyone was circled around him and staring at him because he had talked the whole entire time that he was asleep, and he had no memory, no mind of it at all. This was the first time that he fell into an experience of trance mediumship. As he grew through the years, and this experience, which he was not thrilled about whatsoever, started to happen more often and more often, he was given more information from the entity that was participating with him. So he had to consciously then develop the relationship. It's kind of like, the chicken before the egg or whatever. So he started having the experience, and then he had to catch up and figure out what to do with it, right? So that is the first time that I had come upon what would be a definition of this contractual mediumship, something that was put together on the other side before this lifetime and was to be at a certain time or opening at this person's life. And it was to work with just one single profound master or entity their whole entire life. And of course, eventually, as he did this for years and years and years and years, all of his life, he's now passed on from this world. But he came to understand, to realize that normally when that happens, this being is a part of your overlight or your oversoul that's working with you. In some way, you are already connected to this energy, and that's what makes it possible for this deep, profound connection to take place, and for them to eventually come to a place of great trust with one another in order for it to happen. Now, see, that's what I feel. That's a trans medium, okay? Trans mediumship. Mediums can definitely work through the astral plane and bring through messages from your loved ones and, other things on that side, because there's a lot of stuff that is in that plane. It's not a plane that I work in, but that's not a judgment of any kind. So a little different from channel, from channeling, because it can connotate a lot of different experiences, a little deeper way of giving yourself over, turning yourself over. I have also known people who've been what I would call, or what they, have been labeled as an oracle, which is a body type, some kind of being that comes into this world who knows from the time that they're little that they've had experiences all their life and have given their entire physical life and being to speaking, being here in service to them, any of them. And they do kind of come in and use the body to bring forth stuff. So there's all kinds of things out there. Channeling is not what I would say is stepping into that, unless you ask for it or have agreed of it. It doesn't just come upon you. Light beings never, ever, ever put upon you. They don't come to you. They don't enter your world without your invitation, without you asking. In this particular situation, he didn't realize he had asked. He'd already done that through his own contract. So, stuff happens. I don't know. But anyway, the channeling experience is a beautiful one. It's very light, and you're absolutely, completely wholly conscious if you choose to be. And it can be a profound and beautiful, loving experience. The next one is conscious mediumship. So receiving through intention and awareness of all dimensions and spectrums of life light. We already covered the trance mediumship, so where there's a visible or auditory shift in the personality or the host. In other words, they're not really there anymore, something else is, right? So you can very, very much know that because it's obvious. Unconscious channeling, now this is interesting. Unconscious channeling is like, I'm going to use the example of Edgar Cayce, who was called the sleeping prophet. Okay, and that's, kind of funny because it's like unconscious channeling. Of course, he's sleeping. Where you are unaware of what is said, kind of in a trance-induced state. You're giving over to information that may come from another entity or energy, but most often accessing just another level of the channel's own soul or source. So it's something at an unconscious level within your own self that you're deeply going in and accessing. And not aware you're doing it. Kind of like what you said the other day. It's like I spoke those words through, but I don't know where they came from. You didn't, right? You didn't intend to do that, but there they were. And how did that happen? I'll give you another example. One of mine it's kind of like a funny sleeping one too. I early on in the first parts of my awakening, I was just beginning to channel or do anything like that. But I'd had profound experiences in my awakening. And one morning I woke up and I sat straight up in bed and I just spoke in a different language for like an hour. Just had no idea what I was saying, and I couldn't come out of it at all, but I just was speaking another language. I still to this day don't know what the language was. I don't know how I did it. It's never happened to me again, but I have heard people talk about it as the light languages. So that's another thing that, people can go and read a bunch more. There's a lot of, again, information about that, light languages out there, and I now know that that's probably what it was. It's very interesting experience. Don't know why. It just happened. So physical channeling. This is one we haven't talked much about. This is gifts that channel through one's body, mind, etc., such as clairvoyant gifts, like we were talking about earlier, gifts, art, music, healing energies through the hands, voice, manipulation of material things or matter, etc. Mastering or learning how to tune into and shift vibrations and frequencies to connect to that which you seek. Establishing a mode of communication, signals, cues, coded phrases, and light language. So how to safely channel. Here are some suggestions from several practicing channels to help you with preparing your space for connecting. When we approach the unseen and channeling messages from spirit, it's important to take some safety measures. This is to ensure that we don't open ourselves to any lower vibrational energies. Unwanted entities or spirits with a less than light agenda. This might sound intimidating, but it really isn't difficult. Clearing the space that you're in is a good starting point. You can clear your space using intention and sound, smoke, water, or tools like Reiki or light language. Take a few moments to center and ground yourself. Meditate, breathe deeply, and connect to the earth. Once you feel that this is complete, hold the intention or thoughts, desire that you would like to connect to Source, Spirit, the universe, through your channel for the highest good. Think or state that you would like to connect only to beings of light, working for the highest good of all, and see, sense, or feel yourself being washed in a golden white light of protection. We talked about this earlier. So you can do this in any way and create your own way of doing it, whatever works for you. Make it your own. Ask that you're protected and held throughout your time of connection, and that the space you're in is cleared of any stagnant or lower vibrational energies. Hold or state this intention as you see sound, smoke, or energy to clear the space. I banish all negative energies, entities, and beings from this space in the name of whoever. I call upon the light of God, Goddess, Source. Whatever is your go-to, your go-to person, to permeate this place, every nook and cranny, every shadow space, being filled with this healing, purifying white light, and so it is. I see this light in and around this place, creating a space of protection and sealing it off to all but the highest, and so it is. If you're using sound, you might want to clap or use a singing bowl. If your tool of choice is smoke, you might feel called to smudge the space using incense or a smudge stick, sage, Palo Santo, cedar, etc. If you want to use energy to clear the space, I imagine that you already know what you're doing. So also, it's important to notice what comes through. If anything that comes through doesn't feel right intuitively, or is fear-based, violent, or harmful to yourself or others, I wouldn't trust that it was coming from a place of love. It's important to be discerning and to notice that when things are not feeling right. Trust yourself. Learn to trust your instincts and discernment. So you might ask, how do we know when we're truly connecting to energies of light? We've already talked about body signals, but here are some things that you might just experience in your beingness. You feel a sense of inner peace and calm. You see repeated signs and symbols, just like your numbers, right, that we talked about. You experience physical sensations. You get sudden insights or inspiration. Remember, please, to be grateful for every day and every experience, and especially in your communications with your guides. Stay in your heart and in awe of life. This is the true state of oneness, of love. So why might we want to be curious about communicating with energies after all that we've talked about today, as far as preparation, protection, and so on? It is said that we each have an angel on either side of us, and we also have guides. Maybe a spirit who has been with us in lifetimes before, an ancestor who can support us, or someone we knew in our lifetime. These are beings of the highest truth and compassion, working on our behalf to guide our thoughts and energy back to love. They're not physical and aren't bound by the natural laws of this world. They're spiritual beings. We always have a relationship with these beings, but it's up to us to decide whether we want to have a dialogue with them and let their presence be known. So why connect with your spirit guides? These beings of light come in many forms, and they have different purposes. but their common goal is to help guide us back into alignment with the love of the universe. When you get stuck in a fear-based thought or pattern, you can turn to your guides to help lead you back to love. When you want to receive their guidance, all you have to do is be willing to surrender your fear and see the spiritual sight, knowing that there is a presence always supporting you will give you unshakable faith and strength. It has always been a challenging, wonderful, miraculous experience to be channeling in all circumstances that I've ever had. And I can't say that I hope that I have not tapped into them all yet. I hope there's many more that are coming, because I think it's just our normal experience of being in the world. You know, it's just our life. Our life is channeled. Everything about us and everything that comes, everything that happens is channeled. And what we are limited to in our life is only limited by what we say it is. If we open ourselves to all that can be, then the possibilities are limitless, and there will be no end to what can come through. But the main thing to remember in all of this, I believe, Betty, is that, again, its source is love, and its end and experience and expression is always love. So hopefully, if that is the intention that we go into, that will always be the experience that comes out of it. And for that, I thank you for the experience of coming here, of having this conversation, of being able to bring this forth. I thank Spirit. I thank all the masters and guides that helped us do this and put it together and walk us through all our technical difficulties and all of the challenges that we've come upon. So thank you so much for being here and supporting all of this. And I hope that this is going to be of help and benefit to anyone who happens to come upon it.
It's such a beautiful path for all of us, whether we want to go forward and learn more about our own individual path for channeling, or just being in existence of love that overcomes fear, overcomes chaos. It's allowing for these energies to fully support us, even if we don't have a conscious awareness that they're there. So help us to, thank you for helping us to understand that they are there. They're always there. And it's just a matter of being so appreciative of that, because the more we have to be grateful, the more that we're grateful, the more we have to be grateful for. And so thank you so much, Robin. This is such a blessing to be experiencing this wonderful information.
Well, I look forward to our next conversation. I'm not sure which one it's going to be at this point. So we've got a lot of them brewing out there. And it's always a joy and a pleasure to do this. And again, I just want to say that if any of you want to come and rehear any past conversations or recordings that we've done, pick up on any other information, or have questions or any communications or suggestions that you would like to make, please go to www.embracingsource.com and go to the contact page and leave me a message, even if it's just to say, thanks, or to make a suggestion about something you might want to talk about in the future, or any suggestions you may have on getting together or workshops or anything else. I'm always open to hear your suggestions and to be of service to you in whatever high ways of light that I might be. And I know that Betty is as well. So we'll mull them over and come up with something wonderful. Thank you so much. And we wish you a very, very blessed week and a blessed life.